Hi everyone, it's Jay, and I'm back again with another video. Today we are building a Italian modern farmhouse, which I put a lot of question marks to. That's what the website claimed that I got the reference pictures from. I don't know what that would mean or entail. For me, it's just a very modern, it's almost a mansion to me. It's not super big, but it's big enough. Um, yeah, and I was kind of like looking for modern builds and like a modern build aesthetic and found these pictures and I thought it would look really cool. And I thought, why not try and build that in my Newcrest save? So, as you can see, it's almost like an H-shaped house. With some bump outs here and there to make it look a little more interesting, which I really appreciated. And it gave me the opportunity to find this amazing brick, which is from Bowling Stuff. I don't know what the actual title for that pack was, but yeah, I think that brick is super cool, and it's very close to what the reference picture looks like. It's a rather dark house from the outside because there's a lot of black, like, wooden paneling. However, I feel like with the brick, it doesn't look as intimidating as it could have looked. Now, the original is apparently located in Dallas, Texas, and I have no idea how anybody would want to live in a black house in Dallas where it's hot as heck all the time. But I'm assuming if you can afford that big of a house with a lot of art pieces in, that you can afford the AC cost that it would take to, climatize. Is that the right word? To make it inhabitable. You see me like struggling in the in the first couple of steps because I picked the wrong swatch and I had to adjust windows back and forth because, as some of you may know, scaling is a little different in The Sims 4 than it is in real life. So things that work in real life don't necessarily work in The Sims because of the restrictions that the game has, which is completely normal and okay, but you just have to fiddle with things and move things around. Thankfully, with The Sims 4, it's really easy to like drag walls and drag roofs and all of these things, so it's very easy to adjust things on the spot, on the fly. I have no idea if that's a saying or not, but you know what I mean. So I hate roofing. I hate roofing so much because it always takes forever for me to get it right, and also because of some issues when you do I have no idea what you call that, like oh god, what is it called when there's it's basically two levels but there's no floor in between, so it's a very high room. When that happens and you have like roofing around it, the roofing cuts through, and if you have these see, I can't English again. But like the roof trims, they kind of like clip through, even if the roof itself doesn't clip through, the trims clip through. So I'm running into trouble there as well a little later in the build. But I think for me it's easy to tell that in the beginning it's just about making sure that everything looks as close to the original build as possible. Now you see there's a gap in these two roofs, and I try my darnest to get that gap to close, but I can't. So I just leave it, and at the end of the day, you can't really tell. So I just left it, and I was completely fine with that. Yeah, what I really dislike about some of the Sims items is that the swatches don't always match. So as you can see, or as you could see a little earlier, those glass sliding doors, that's the darkest swatch it has, but it's not black. So it looks gray in between the black windows, which kind of bothers me sometimes. In this, there's so much black and so much gray tones that it doesn't stand out as much as it could. But yeah, that bothers me. Like wood tones not matching. Also, see, this is apparently a black window frame, It looks gray. I'm sorry, it just does. But yeah. For me, I think the hardest about this house in general was figuring out the layout, because I didn't have an actual printed out layout or a blueprint or of some sorts, any indication of which room was where, other than the reference pictures, like the pictures one would take for like marketing purposes to put the house itself on the market. So it was a little difficult to figure out which room is in which side, on which side of the house, and which room connects which other room. Thankfully, the original house, like the real life house, has a lot of art pieces on the walls, and I try to kind of mimic that, even though I think even though there's a ton of pictures in The Sims, it's still a little limited or limiting. You'll see in the next video when I furnish everything. But because of those art pieces, I could kind of determine, okay, I see this wall on the right in this picture, and then in the back left in this picture. That means they have to be connected in this way. So that's how I tried to approach that. Now the stairs I was not happy with, because the original stairs have this very, very beautiful caramelly beige tone. However, they're like the steps of the stairs are connected with a very dark, almost black metal, and also the railing is like this black metal and this creamy wood, and I just could not find the swatch of any of the railings or stairs that matched. Here you see that roofing issue that I talked about a little earlier. So I end up changing that, I think, relatively late in the build, so I'm definitely already furnishing when I change that. But I just like the wood itself was a good fit, but the style of the stairs wasn't necessarily, so I kind of changed that up later on. Yeah, that's that about that. Now this little accent area, I think, looks really, really cool in the original build. It doesn't make too much sense in The Sims, because logistically it's a ton of time that you're losing if your Sims would actually eat at this dinner table. Most of the Sims probably wouldn't eat, because there will be a kitchen island situation with like bar stools, and your Sims usually take the shortest route. So this is very much just for aesthetic purposes. But also, in real life, I have no idea why you would see me fiddling with the railings. I don't know why you would put the dining table so far away. Not super, super far away from the kitchen, but you know what I mean. Anyway, this is the front sitting room, which is basically just a fireplace, some place to sit, and a high, high ceiling with artwork on it. Which, I mean, it's beautiful, but there's no real gameplay, really, that you're adding in The Sims, which is also one of the reasons why real-life builds don't always translate well to actual gameplay in The Sims, because what aesthetically makes sense in real life might not make sense in The Sims, because the gameplay isn't there, or it doesn't cater to gameplay, or there's no real addition to what your Sims can do through a certain room or certain items. Now you see me trying to figure out the layout. There's a ton of cuts in this footage. I tried to make them subtle, but I cut a ton of times because I switched back and forth on my screen between the game and the reference pictures, because it was so difficult to figure out where rooms ended and where they began and which room was which. I saw maybe 3 different bathroom pictures, and I could not for the life of me figure out which ones were en suites or which ones were like just standalone bathrooms. I think I ended up putting more bathrooms in this like Sims build than there are in the actual house. I have no regrets though. Yeah, but that is a really, really difficult thing to kind of adjust real life houses to The Sims and The Sims gameplay and what The Sims is able to do building wise. Now you see I kind of tugged and adjusted here a little bit, because one, the rooms were super, super narrow, and two, it just didn't really make too much sense to cut off like right in the middle of that, and it didn't really make any sense. Yeah, and you see me like place just a bed in a room, or just like very easy sofas and a coffee table. That's for me personally to understand what types of rooms each of the rooms are, and specifically with those two sitting rooms, it was very important for me to understand which one was the one in the back and which one was the one in the front, when it came to furnishing, and then styling everything. Styling everything. You know what I mean. Yeah, this bump out really gave me a big headache because I did not understand what it was for. The kitchen, the original kitchen, is kind of sunken in, but there had to be more in the back. So I ended up turning that into like a utility closet, pantry, laundry room situation. So that it would actually add some gameplay with the laundry and stuff, but not be like completely empty besides the washing machine and the dryer. But we'll get to that in probably the second video. I think the only things I'm furnishing are the kitchen and maybe one of the sitting rooms. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was one of the sitting rooms. Yeah, as you see, I had to match, or I tried to match, the two kitchen items, so the kitchen counter and the kitchen cabinets, which don't necessarily always work because not every counter has a cabinet that correlates. Issues upon issues with The Sims from time to time. Now, what I'm doing right now is probably like the most random thing you've ever seen. It was the most random thing I've ever seen in the photos of the actual house, but the actual house has like this mini like walk-through thing with just a counter and a cabinet. I have no idea why they use that, why they have that, why that is a thing. I don't know. But I added it because it looked kind of cute. I don't know. And it kind of gives you a little bit of a separation between this room and what will end up being like the TV room in huge quotation marks. It's also just the sitting room, but this one has a TV and ends up having like a gaming console. Now they have like this super cute like glass wine rack situation in the real house, and I tried to emulate that with the glass doors because these items actually don't have any doors, so those items are open, and that's not necessarily how you would store wine. If you have really, really expensive wine, you would want something that is climate controlled and where you can control humidity and temperature and all of these things, so I put them behind glass doors. Now here again, there's not much going on in this room in real life other than a sofa, two seats on the side, and a little table, and the fireplace. So the main point of this room is to display the art. That's not necessarily something that makes sense in The Sims, to just have a room with art pieces in it. If there's no added gameplay, it doesn't really have any value in The Sims. I would say that most of the builds that I do, I try to make sure that I don't have empty rooms where there is no actual gameplay value in the room, so that you can do something at least in each of the rooms. And I think I add like a bookcase or something or other in that room to make it, to kind of justify it to myself to actually build it, because yeah, I mean, just it doesn't really make sense. Yeah, here I try to kind of make sure that we have two like little en-suites. I have a ton of bathrooms in this house, I admit that, but I feel like I end up kind of having a family in mind where there's a mother and a father, like obviously a married couple, and their teenage daughter and their child daughter. So there's a child, there's a teenager, both of them are girls, and I feel like I feel like it would be realistic if you have that amount of money to make sure that your daughters both have their own bathrooms. It's just what I think. And this, like, this fireplace, fire pit thing is really, really beautiful in the original, but the, like, the little, what do you call that? What do you call that? That little, it's not a pedestal. You know what I mean? Like that little elevation thing. Oh, I can't English. That is round in the original, so I tried to kind of emulate that with the square, and I think it looks pretty good because of the stone that I ended up using. Now, you see me using terrain paint on the left here. At the end of the build, I think I'd switch it to the floor tile. That is almost the same as that terrain tool, just to have like very, very sharp edges, because I can't for the life of me seem to be able to draw really like straight lines, as you can see with the terrain paint tool. So that will change. A couple of things will change throughout the rest of the build. As we're getting close to the end of part 1, you see me try to fill the backyard area. I'm not quite sure if that looks good or not. I'm really, really bad with making like gardens and backyard stuff. Like landscaping in general, I'm really, really bad at. So I just end up putting like 4 of those lounge chairs in there. And I try my gosh darn best to make it look good, but it really, really didn't. So if you download this from the gallery, there's so much freedom that you have with making this look better than it does when I did it. Yeah, so that's the end of part 1, and I'll see you in the next part, where we will furnish the house and we will do some finishing touches in landscaping, and maybe I'll also show you how I adjust the build to make it a little more gallery friendly. And yeah, if you like this video, please give it a like, comment. If you want to see more, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.